has been named the NFC's Offensive Player of the Week. So certainly no member of this esteemed panel, Dominique Foxworth, Tim Hasselbeck, or Chris Canty, are going to pick the Giants, to win tomorrow. Yes, they will. Chris Canty likes the G-Men. Chris, tell us why.
I love the Giants being able to execute the same playing plan that the Green Bay Packers did a couple of weeks ago, which is come out in big people. 12 personnel, 13 personnel, 21 personnel, and run right at those pass rushers for the Dallas Cowboys along their defensive front. If you look at the New York Giants in the games after their previous two losses, they came out and ran the ball 47 times and 44 times respectively. They're going up against a defense in the Cowboys that is 30th in run-stop win rate. The Giants' only path to success in this game is to run the football with Saquon Barkley, the league's second leading rusher. They've got to try to stay on schedule. If you listen to Brian Daboll, that's what he's emphasized. They can't get in a game where they're forced to drop back 35, 40 times. And I think leading with Saquon Barkley not only helps your offense stay on track, but it also keeps that high-powered offense of the Dallas Cowboys on the sideline.
I hear you, and I agree with you on the formula, but it's one thing not to want to throw the ball a lot. It's another thing not to be able to throw the ball a lot, and you just pointed out they've lost another receiver. The Giants are playing. It's one thing not to have a lot of weapons. At this point, I'm not sure there's any team in the NFL that has less on the outside right now than they do. Dominique, Mr. Canty likes the G-Men tomorrow. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we have drawn the wrong conclusions from the Cowboys' loss to the Green Bay Packers. Yes, the Packers ran the ball well against them, but they also had explosive plays. That's what's going to beat you in the modern NFL, giving up explosive plays. And you know what the Giants have a hard time doing because they are down deep on the receiver depth chart? It's creating explosive plays. Saquon is going to have to do it from the backfield or as a receiver. And they're going to be able to find that one player and focus on him and slow him down. And even though the Green Bay Packers played as good a game against the Cowboys offensively as you can expect, they still entered the fourth quarter down 14 points. So if the Cowboys are able to have a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter, you know what the Giants are not going to be able to do? Outscore them in that period and win. It just seems like it's too tall a task. The Giants are an NFL team with NFL players, so anything could happen, but it's absurd to me to think that they're likely to pull this upset.
Now, they're not just an NFL team. They're a 7-3 NFL team that no one, except I guess Chris Canty, believes in right now. So Tim Hasselbeck, help me here, because we do a feature every now and again called Bad Week or Bad Sign. The Giants looked just awful this past week at home against the Lions. Did you interpret that as just a bad week, or was that a bad sign that the reality is the Giants are what most people have thought they really are all season long?
I actually think that it was just a bad week, but that doesn't mean I'm going to, align with Chris on this in terms of thinking that the Giants are going to beat the Dallas Cowboys, because I think focusing on, the Giants running the football and Dallas maybe, struggling to stop the run at times. Look, that's one thing. The other aspect of it, I think we need to put some respect, behind what Dallas has done offensively. Look, with Dak Prescott as a starting quarterback in his last 21 games, they're averaging 31 points. I think we have to also look at what they are offensively, because even if they're not amazing defensively and you're able to eat up some clock and you're able to keep that offense off the field, and look, maybe you find a way to be more productive than you were last week against the Lions, you still have to stop this Dallas attack, who, by the way, look, their backup running back, Greeny, you just mentioned it, is NFC Player of the Week. I think they are really good, and I think Dak Prescott's playing at a high level. And so I think you have to consider the balance that the Dallas Cowboys have.
Yeah, Chris, until I found out this morning that you were picking the Giants to win this game, which I respect. I don't agree with it, but I like the pick. And my planned question for you today was going to be, have the Cowboys now established themselves as the team to beat in the entire NFC? What would your answer to that have been?
No. I don't think they're the team to beat. I don't think that they're number 2 in the NFC. That belongs to the Philadelphia Eagles and the San Francisco 49ers, respectively. I like what the Dallas Cowboys bring to the party, but I still have concerns about their run defense, Greeny. I really do. And I think this is an opportunity for them to prove me wrong going up against a team that really has no other path to victory other than being able to run the football. So I will say this, the Dallas Cowboys defense is one of the most explosive in the National Football League, but the Dallas Dallas Cowboys defense, this team is 1-3 when the Cowboys allow opposing offenses to rush for more than 30 attempts. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out on Thanksgiving Day. But I'm rolling with the G-men in this game.
You have made Dominique do funny-looking things to his face. Go ahead, Neek, final word.
I mean, it's just like the Cowboys, I would say they're number 2 behind the Eagles, but maybe 1B. This running attack thing is something that we've been listening to for a couple weeks now. The Cowboys do have issues slowing down the run, but they're not built that way. If you listen to what Tim just said a moment ago, is they're the highest scoring team in football when Dak is out there. That's the point. They get a big lead or get a lead and then make you one-dimensional. And they have the best pass rush in football. That is how they are built. That's a good way to win modern football games, to score a lot of points and rush the passer really well. Yes, you're going to give up some rushing yards. You can't be great at everything. So if you're going to choose something that you need to work on, then I think in football these days it's okay for it to be the running attack. I'm sure they want to address it, but right now they're a really, really good team, and their only weakness is stopping the run. You'd love to have teams run the ball against you every play, especially when you're outscoring everybody and you average 31 points a game with your starting quarterback. They're in good shape.
All right, everybody stay where you are. We will have much more time in this hour to look ahead to tomorrow's NFL action. But right now, let's look back at what happened last night, because when the committee sends out its rankings, it is sending out messages. So let's dive into what those messages were this week. The top 4 teams remained the same. That's not a surprise. But the pressure point was, what would they do at number 5? Would USC jump over LSU to number 5? And the answer was no. You see it up there. LSU stays 5. USC is 6, or LSU moves up to 5 with Tennessee falling all the way down. USC is 6. Alabama with the 2 losses is 7, ahead of Clemson. So a lot of messages are being sent. And look who has gotten up with us today. The man who has, without question, the best backdrop of anyone at ESPN, and we'll show it in full in a minute. The great Desmond Howard is up with us. I'll come to you in a minute, Des, but let me start with Heather. Help me interpret those messages last night from the committee. What does it mean that LSU is 5 and USC is 6?
It means that if LSU runs the table and beats Georgia to win the SEC championship, they will become the first 2-loss team in the history of the college football playoff to finish in the top 4. I don't think there's any doubt that LSU gets in, because they will have wins against Alabama and Georgia. And to further boost that case, the committee has said that Georgia separated itself from everyone else. So you go and you beat their number 1 team that separated itself from the rest of the country, you're in.
On a neutral field. I agree with that. So, Des, assuming you agree with that if LSU wins, they're in, then what about Georgia? Does Georgia get in also? Because in your mind, is there any question of that? Because if so, we have set up a scenario where the SEC is taking up 2 of the 4 spots.
Georgia is a very strong number 1. They're a consensus number 1. I don't see them losing in the championship game and going out of the top 4. If they lose to LSU in a hard-fought game, I don't see the selection committee moving them out of number 1 all the way to 5 or 6. I think that they are very confident in Georgia as a number 1 team. They've been impressed with Georgia's resume and what they've done on the field. So at this point, if they lose the SEC championship game, I do not see the Bulldogs moving out of the top 4 by the selection committee.
All right, so we all are in agreement on that. So that means there are going to be a lot of fans in L.A., a lot of fans in Columbus, Ohio, a lot of fans in Ann Arbor, depending on who, that are going to be rooting like crazy for Georgia in that game. Because who gets knocked out? Who's the next one in? If we're looking at one spot, is it a 1-loss loser in the Big Ten game? Is it a 1-loss Pac-12 champion in USC? Who's the 1-loss team that gets in?
It's the loser of the Ohio State-Michigan game. I go back to the selection committee protocol. If you don't win your conference championship, there are tiebreakers that they use. Conference championship is 1. The loser of that game doesn't have it. Strength of schedule is another. Michigan certainly doesn't have it. Ohio State could make a case because of the win against Notre Dame. And then strength of schedule, common opponents. I mean, all of those things. Notre Dame is a common opponent for Ohio State. How does USC beat Notre Dame en route to that Pac-12 title?
Okay.
So all of those things are a factor.
So what she has just set up for us are the stakes of the game this weekend, which candidly never require external motivation, but it's the first time Ohio State and Michigan play each other as undefeateds since 2006. So, Desmond, I come to you. The world knows you as one of the foremost college football analysts in the business, but of course your heart is still in maize and blue. What is your sense of this weekend's game? How does Michigan win this one on the road in Columbus?
Well, a lot of weight is on the decision of Blake Corum, the running back for Michigan, who got hurt in the Illinois game. If he's able to go, if he's able to play, then obviously that's going to be a tremendous boost for Michigan because he's such a huge part of the offense. We're talking about a guy who, going to last week's game against Illinois, was the Heisman front runner, and what he means to that offense, I don't even know if you can measure it. I mean, this guy has 256 touches on the season. The next closest player is Donovan Edwards with 84 touches. So you understand what Blake Corum means to this offense. He's a special talent, does a lot on the field, not only as a running back, but he blocks, he catches the ball too. So if Blake is ready to go and he's able to go, the big question is, what percentage will he be if he's playing? Is he at 90%? Is he at 75%? But he's such a big part of the offense. Blake Corum's ability or availability on Saturday afternoon is key for Michigan to win against Ohio State.
Heather?
I have a question for Des. I'm curious, do you think that J.J. McCarthy can win this game with his arm if Blake Corum is not able to play?
That's Michigan's quarterback. Des?
That's a very good question. Keep in mind, though, it's a 1-2 punch with